morning. You're watching Kenya's third most preferred TV station. This is Switch TV News at 7. I am Lincoln Ombogo. Our sign language interpreter is Michael Matthew, and these are the top stories. The COVID-19 situation in the country is expected to get worse, Ministry of Health warns. Health Cabinet Secretary KAGWE says increased mental health cases caused by the COVID-19 pandemic have gotten the government to pay more attention to mental health. More Kenyans threaten to go to court should IEBC decide to postpone next year's general elections. Glad you're watching. Over 30 minutes of the broadcast begins now. The country is set to enter the most critical phase of COVID-19 pandemic following the high transmission rate of the deadly and dominant Delta variant. This is according to the Ministry of Health, which has again given a stern warning to the public not to let their guard down in the battle against the disease. Robert Omer with the details.
Kenya is still grappling with COVID-19 pandemic even as the battle against the deadly disease continues around the world. The Health Cabinet Secretary KAGWE raising alarm of concern to the public of even tougher days ahead following the country's COVID-19 daily positivity rate.
Nairobi is the one that is actually concerning us because of the increase in positivity rates here in Nairobi. And I think it is important for the Nairobi people to know that they stand at most danger as far as the current spread of the virus is concerned.
CS KAGWE adds that the number of patients in need of oxygen in hospitals has risen from 100 to 400 daily, calling on for the supply of the same to save the sinking ship.
We have seen it happen in other countries. We have seen it overrun the health sectors in other countries. It can happen here as well. In fact, unless we observe the measures, unless we are ultra careful, it is almost a given that if we go that direction, we know what is going to follow.
The government has also affirmed that so far, 1.7 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccines have been distributed around the country, with 650,000 people already vaccinated. At the time when political fumes are high, the ministry has given caution to the public not to attend any political rallies to help curb the pandemic.
Avoid those political gatherings, because nobody is forced to go to a political gathering. And I have often said the best and most effective way of stopping political gatherings is for you not to go. No politician is going to go and talk to himself.
This comes at a time when the UK government is set to donate 817,000 vaccines to Kenya in the AstraZeneca trials. Even as the country is still battling the deadly COVID-19 virus, more alarm has been raised over the rapidly spreading Delta variant. This therefore means that the containment measures must be adhered to this time more than ever. Robert Omer, Switch TV at the Afia House in Nairobi.
Thank you, Robert Omer. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a lot of effects on Kenyans and the world at large. Some of the effects include degrading mental health due to the disruption it has caused to people's livelihoods. To this effect, Health Cabinet Secretary KAGWE has today announced his ministry's commitment to tackling the issue of mental health in the country by constructing a 200-acre state-of-the-art facility in Karen in collaboration with the Italian government that will deal with the treatment of mental health issues.
There is obviously a link between the current increasing rates of mental health and COVID-19. There is no doubt about it. But more importantly is a wider project that the government has to build an ultra-modern facility at Karen. We have already reserved 200 acres of land in that place. I think some of you have been there. And the reason why we are working with the Italian government is to see whether we can create not just a regional mental health facility, but indeed a global standard mental health facility that can assist people not only in Kenya, in our area, but those who may wish even from elsewhere in the world. So it is a matter that as the Ministry of Health, we have taken seriously. You are aware also that President Kenyatta has appointed an advisor on mental health and happiness.
Elsewhere, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiangi has blamed encroaching herders for violent clashes between pastoral and private ranches, warning to deal with those that try to threaten the peace of the area. The Interior Cabinet Secretary was speaking at the Anti-Stock Theft Unit in Naibu, LAIKIPIA County in the company of Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai and senior security officers.
Asked the Inspector General na tumekubaliana pale with all the leadership teams ya security. We're asking the herders who are in Laikipia illegally to leave Laikipia within the next 7 days. But while you are planning to leave within the next 7 days, we are preparing a crack operation. It will be merciless and it will be very firm. Tafadhali usipige nduru. Tumekuambia uondoke kwa hiari yako kama you are here illegally.
United Green Movement Party is warning to move to court should the Independence Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IBC) extend the 2022 general election. According to the party leader Agostino Neto, those proposing to postpone the election will be breaking the law, further warning to sue the IBC commissioners if any violence ensues. Daniel Karaoke reports.
The 2022 general election is a little over 1 year away, with the constitution stipulating that it must take place on the 9th of August 2022. However, a threat by a section of members of parliament to move to court to compel IEBC to conduct the boundary review before the general election could reopen the discussion on what it would take to postpone the election. Ndaragwa MP Jeremiah Kioni of the Jubilee Party is preparing a petition to delay elections of a constituency's requirement proposed by the BBI. The United Green Movement is, however, not convinced that the election date should be changed no matter what.
If everyone else stuck to their job, everyone would be happy. But when you have a legislature who cannot make law in terms of how to conduct referendum, wants to tell IBC how to do their job, it really, this is why we end up in a crisis, because everyone else wants to be a doctor. Every members of parliament can say whatever they please, but let us have the 290 constituencies for the next general election.
The movement further warning to move to both local and international courts to ensure each commissioner of the IEBC is held liable should there be any post-election violence.
United Green Movement Party would like to warn the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to postpone the 2022 general election at their own peril.
What we are experiencing in this nation today is total impunity. The people have the power to decide when elections are supposed to be held in this nation.
The party has further called for a speedy process by the IEBC on registration of those eligible to be voters ahead of the general elections.
What members of parliament should be doing is making sure that IBC has money to conduct boundaries delimitation, if at all that is important. But we know for a fact the constitution also states that you cannot do boundary delimitation 1 year to the election. So that means the boundaries as they are will be used for the next election.
This is not the first time this would have happened under the 2010 constitution. Rewinding at the near end of President Mwai Kibaki's term, the courts pushed the poll date back by 3 months to March 4th, 2013. It is barely 12 days to that time lapse of time provided in the Constitution that limits anyone with plans of reviewing boundaries of constituencies. And if Parliament passes this petition by Ndaragwa MP, it means that Kenyans will have to wait a bit longer after that date of 9th of August 2022 passes. Daniel Karaoke for Switch TV, Nairobi County.
Thank you, Daniel Karaoke. ANC party leader MUSALIA now says that NASA is history, adding that he is looking forward to joining other parties available to drive his 2022 presidency agenda. MUSALIA was speaking at his uncle's burial in Ikolomani, where he also asked the residents to rally behind him in his dream of becoming the 5th president of Kenya.
Nataka niwaambie tu kwamba NASA ni historia. Haturudi huko tena. Tumemaliza. Mheshimiwa Goia ameeleza kinaganaga vizuizi na shida tulikuwa tukiona tukiwa katika NASA, na sasa ni lazima tuangalie mbele. Ukitaka kuendesha gari, hauwezi kuendesha gari kila mara ukiangalia ile kioo ya kukuonyesha nyuma. Sasa ni lazima tuangalie mbele, tujipange. 2022 inakuja, na mimi nawataka munisaidie nipate nafasi ya kuongoza taifa la Kenya kama rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
Certificate of citizenship has officially been granted to the Shona community, a move that will now prove their legal ties as Kenyan citizens. The community, originally from Zimbabwe and Zambia, have today received their identification cards, marking the end of stillness and a new dawn for them. Harriet Chimea reports.
Joy and applause filled the air as 1,670 people and 918 people from the Shona community were issued with their citizenship certificates and identification cards respectively.
Nimefurahi sana leo kupewa certificate yangu. Nilikuwa na tabu kubwa ya kuwa kila kitu nisiwezi pata, hata passport, hata nini, kutembea nje siwezi.
Kama ni bursary unaitwa ID, una hiyo ID ikabidi wakwamie kwa njia. Lakini kwa sasa hii tunashukuru sana. Hata natamani baba yangu angekuwa aone juu. Wao ndio walikuwa wanashikwa sana.
Niko uhuru, hata nitaweza kujinunulia mahali nilelea watoto wangu. Ninashukuru Mungu.
Tumesherekea sana, tumepewa vitambulisho. Sasa mimi ni Mkenya. Si mama mwingine, naitwa mama yangu Kamiri. Tulikuwa tunaitwa na majina ya mama wengine. Leo huyu msichana yangu hata yeye alikuwa anaitwa, yani anaenda kutafuta mama na yeye ako na mama tayari. Hata maneno yake tunashindwa tutasema aje juu tumefurahi sana.
The community is now recognized as eligible voters as the country gears towards the 2022 elections.
And welcome you to register as voters and vote me as your next governor.
James, I knew you would ask for vote.
With the target to issue citizenship to the Sagaf community of Tana River County by Jamhuri Day this year, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiangi also advised that all children from the Shona community should go to school and access all needed government services. The CS also warned that even as the country aims to end statelessness, those trying to get documents through fraud will be dealt with accordingly.
I have deported quite a number of people recently, and I have asked my colleagues at the Ministry of Interior that we will clean up ruthlessly.
Kwa kweli mvumilivu hula mbivu, sasa tumekamilika.
It is the end of statelessness for the Shona community, and the government has promised 100% transition for them to access government services. Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Harriet Chim.
Thank you, Harriet Chimea. British armed forces will now be in Kenya for 5 more years if both the British and Kenyan parliaments ratify the Defence Cooperation Agreement. This follows a defence deal signed by Cabinet Secretary for Defence Dr. Monica Jimmer and her UK counterpart Defence Secretary Ben Wallace at the Ministry of Defence Forces in London. This agreement will anchor the defence priorities between the two nations over the next 5 years. Shillingatich reports.
6 months after the two cabinet secretaries met in Nairobi with an agreement to deepen the cooperation in tackling the Al-Shabaab threat in the region, a new 5-year defense cooperation agreement has been signed between Kenya and the United Kingdom. The existing DCA agreement has seen the British Army Unit Kenya bring in up to 6 infantry battalions in Kenya every year. The unit conducts around 5 joint training exercises involving around 750 Kenyan and 5,000 British troops. The two countries coordinate in their effort of countering threats from the Al-Shabaab by sharing information and identifying new ways to target the group financially with sanctions and starve them of new recruits by addressing the root cause of violent extremism. The presence of the British Army Training Unit Kenya has contributed significantly to the local economy and community, turning over 5.8 billion to the economies and of hiring more than 550 local staff. The Defence Cooperation Agreement signed by the two secretaries now await parliaments of both UK and Kenya to ratify it before it is implemented. Shillingatich, Switch TV.
That story by Shillingatich takes us to a short commercial break. Stay tuned, we'll be back with more. welcome back. Thank you for keeping it Switch TV. Send in your feedback and comments to our SMS line 1114411 at Switch TV Kenya and a Lincoln Wumbogo. On Inside Somaliland, the journey through the Republic of Somaliland continues with visits to Hargeisa and Ali Bade done. This week, our crew of Kibisi Mulanda and Jidref Mbogwe take you far north to Sahel region. First up, BERBERA. Nothing beats the port city. Then to Dalo village to experience humanity at its very best with the local Red Crescent Society. Take a look.
Last week, we took you to the east of Hargeisa, to the border town of Ali Bade, next to the border with Ethiopia. This week, the show takes a humanitarian angle as we head up north to Dalo village in Sahel region. Here, we visit a mobile clinic site run by BSHAS. More on that shortly. First, let us tell you of our short visit to the port city of BERBERA, right on the Gulf of Aden. The road from Hargeisa to BERBERA is a beautiful one. Smooth ride. The road is still under construction in some areas and hence a number of diversions and rough patches. This road is part of the 250 kilometers dual carriage BERBERA Ethiopia highway that will potentially turn Somaliland into a major regional trading hub. Oh, and it is quite eventful on the road too. First of all, you will meet these distant relatives of man. Then you will come across herders tending to their camels. And the scenery on the way is stunningly beautiful. This route is also plied by public transport vehicles. Reminds one of Kenyan matatus, but looks a lot more organized, right? They are quite modern too. BERBERA is an absolutely beautiful city. BERBERA is the capital of the Sahel region of Somaliland and is the main seaport of the country. BERBERA is a coastal city and was the former capital of the British Somaliland Protectorate before Hargeisa. It is quite organized. Remember the Toyota Vitz story? And the way they dot the country? Everywhere you look, there's a first-generation Vitz. This clearly should be a story for another day. The best part of the visit to BERBERA is a visit to the sea. We did not find it crowded. A few people swimming here and there, and the boats and ships at sea make for a wonderful sight. Absolutely magical. Then the magical sunset. The city has modern hotels as well, and the views at night are breathtaking. Look at the port. To say the least, BERBERA must be on every traveler's bucket list. Well, that is BERBERA for you. Time now to head to Dalo and see the magic of humanitarian work and the impact to society. Our job here is simple: to document the wonderful work done by BSHAS in society. Sulika Arab is 20 years old and a mother of 3. She is here seeking treatment for her youngest child. The 10-month child plays and laughs oblivious of the imminent dangers to her health caused by the lack of proper nutrition. She has just been assessed as malnourished, a common ailment in this area as a result of the ravages of drought and other attendant harsh conditions. The strain on the populace and the fact that the health sector is stretched with hospitals far away makes the situation dire. This camp is thus a blessing to the community. They This is Hamdi A. Rahman, the mobile clinic midwife attending to a pregnant woman. Antenatal care here is important. It is critical to identify high-risk pregnancies and educate women so that they might experience a healthier delivery and outcome. The situation can get out of hand if these interventions are not done. Training is thus key to ensure continuity, as this clinic is only here for 1 day a month. This is Safia Hassan Gele with 35 years experience as a traditional birth attendant. She also benefits from training to serve the community better. Hussein Saeed Hussein is the team leader in this camp. He has a nursing degree and has been in this service for 2.5 years.
mobile team ama inaan ka shaqeyno dibadda gobolka dibadiisana ka shaqeyno gobolka saaxil guud ahaan intuu maamulo waxaan kaga shaqeynaa saaxil laba team ka shaqeynaa team bari ka shaqeeyay team kaga galbeed ka shaqeeyay marka galbeedka guud ahaan teamka intaan ka shaqeynaa waxaan ka shaqeynaa 24 tuulo oo 4 wiiga bishii waxaan baxnaa 6 cishan maqnaana bishii 6 cishan markaan soo shaqeyno markaan shaqada maalinta ugu dambaysan soo gabagabayno preparation.
Everybody knows that how the community changed in their health situation, which hasn't been brought by the, outreach activities and also the work this clinic is doing.
As we leave Dalo, we are completely in awe of the beauty of the community here. Very welcoming. Next week, we hit the road again. We start heading south to Sheikh District. Have you ever heard of the Sheikh Mountain? 2,000 meters above sea level? It is a natural wonder by its vegetation. The winding road from the bottom is simply breathtaking. We also give you a taste of camel meat in Burao, the second largest city in Somaliland.
And from the business desk, in the modern day of digital content entrepreneurship, copyright infringement still remains one of its major challenges. Overio Napolo James speaks to a YouTube content creator who shares what you can do to prevent someone from stealing your digital content.
In the YouTube space, what are some of the major challenges that content creators face when it comes to copyright infringement?
There's a lot of copyright infringement that is going on YouTube, and essentially what this means is that there are people who download your videos and then they can re-upload these videos on their channel. Now, this happens for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's because they're trying to explain something, but a lot of the times it's because they're trying to make easy money without having to put in the work. So essentially what YouTube has done is that they allow you to find out who is using your content illegally. So this is something that you could be able to figure out by heading over to the Creator Studio and finding the section where it says copyright. So on this section, you are going to be able to see, whether there's any duplicate content matching the videos that you've uploaded on your channel. And so what you can do after this is you can contact these creators and, let them know that they need to take these videos down, or you could just communicate this to YouTube and have these videos taken down altogether. And so that's one way of protecting your videos locally. Having to go through the conventional way where you have to use government offices to copyright your content can be very difficult, but it's important if you are, producing films and music. However, if you're just trying to protect your content, something else you could do other than using the copyright feature in the Creator Studio is making sure that you have at least a watermark on your videos. And this essentially makes it possible for, anyone, anywhere to know or to be able to trace back the content to the original creator, just in case this content finds its way to Facebook or Instagram, or possibly even this person's web.
Thank you, Apollo James. Speaking during an IGAD meeting on women and land ownership, IGAD member state ministers have acknowledged that there are progressive policies set to promote equality in land ownership, but society mindset is a key setback when it comes to implementation of these policies. Our reporter attended the meeting and has filed this report.
If we in our continent consider women to be property, how then do we expect property to own property?
The issue of land is very emotive, and when it comes to ownership of land and gender, this is where the rubber meets the road, according to the Land and Physical Planning Cabinet Secretary Farida Karonei.
Half of the world's farmers are women, but they don't have land. They don't even have rights to use the land as a resource.
According to the ministry, 50% of farmers in the world are women, but only 2% of land is owned by the same women. According to the CS, there are enough laws to promote women land ownership, but negative mindset at community level is the biggest setback.
We have many laws in our country, including the Matrimonial Property Act, which says that spouses should have equal access to matrimonial property. But it's not always the case. They always end up in court, challenging each other, whether who and which property while we were married.
It is due to these IGAD member states have agreed to implement IGAD'S endorsement of the Regional Women's Land Rights Agenda. Key recommendations as follows: improving the policy and legal environment for gender equality on land in the IGAD member states, addressing culture, religion and customary practices that hinder women's realization of their full potential on land, enhancing public awareness or information on women's land rights, and building women's leadership and participation in land governance. The issue of land is a very emotive issue. It has turned communities against communities, families against families, and when we bring gender into this conversation, it gets even more murky. But the take-home from this conversation today is that policies are not the magic bullet to solving land issues. It will also take a change in mindset in community. Brian Mwenda, Switch TV, Nairobi.
And from the sports desk, Shujaa secured a 22-0 win over Ireland in their classification final match at the Tokyo Olympic Stadium early morning today to finish in the 9th position in the men's round.